Hello, and welcome back to Hold On, I'm Talking Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood, and you are listening to our preview of UFC Fight Night, Song versus Simone, live from, you guessed it, the Apex Center from Las Vegas, Nevada. They just keep on giving us the good stuff. As per usual, listeners, I'm joined by my regular co-host, Tom Ballerman. Tom, you know, we talk about it all the time now with these sort of Apex cards. The once fine allure of hearing all that good stuff, you know, hearing that talking, feeling the meat, the impact, hearing the corners screaming. They've just ruined it, haven't they? They've ruined what was a lovely thing that they could have still done and given it an interesting flair. It's just done now, isn't it?
Yeah, I certainly feel that way. Are you implying that that's because of the quality of the fights that we get served up here?
Yes.
I mean, let's just remind the listeners, this Simone versus Yadong fight, it was delayed to get on here. It was the one fight I was excited about on the previous card,
yes.
Only to find out it had been pushed back to this week. Such was the weakness that they...
yeah, it was the card that was supposed to be headlined by Sarukian versus Moicano, and it's like... See,
you give me some Sarukian and Moicano and some Simone and Song Yadong.
Oh, don't. Ambassador uses spoil us. Like, that, we'll never get one of those. In an Apex, Moicano, Sarukian and this, never happen. Will never happen. But you know what? Let's be blessed. A bantamweight main event. And, you know, we love the bantamweight division here. And do you know what we love on this podcast? And particularly Tom, we love Ricky Simone's back. So, you know, it's great to see that back in our lives. For 5 rounds as well, as he faces off against Song Yadong. And I think this is tremendous matchmaking. Like, I actually think this is really good matchmaking. Perfect sort of ranking-wise. Outside the top 5, inside edge of top 10. You know.
So we're talking about rank 8 Song Yadong versus rank 10 Ricky Simone.
Perfect. Simone coming off the win over Jack Shaw. So good it sent Shaw up to featherweight. And then Song coming off the loss to Corey Sandhagen. Again, no shame in that. This lines up really well. It's just a really well lined up match. And Tom, I'm going to ask you this straight up. Over the last couple of years, who has developed more between these two?
Well, I remember Song Yadong entering the UFC, obviously out of Uriah Hall's camp down there in California. They sprawl, they shoot, they play that game. The anti-Dominic Cruz.
Yes.
That never was.
Yes.
Well, until, of course, Cody Garbrandt's spectacular win.
Yeah.
We've heralded that before. And Song came in with a great 1-2, fast hands, short reach, but big power for a bantamweight, and of course some fundamentals in the wrestling to shoot a sprawl. You know, should he be challenged? What's changed since then, Joe?
Not a huge amount. I've got to say he's more. This is the interesting thing about Song Yadong is that he's got a 10-year fight career and he's 25 years old. Which is illegal. That's an expletive, illegal, to quote Dana White. It's a weird career, isn't it? Like, it's a weird one. Like, he's kind of come in and he's had this sort of, like, he's got clearly, like, dynamite fists, dynamite power that can, like, knock people out. And in the case of Corey Sandhagen, even rocked Corey Sandhagen slightly. You know, it sort of caused Sandhagen to pause and go like, hold on a second, I'm going to go back to skirting on the outside a little bit here. And I might sit on those takedowns a bit more, you know, I might go a bit deeper on those. And Song, to his credit, has developed a little bit, but it's quite slow progress. Like, it's been a while since he's developed that kicking game. You know, he's always, I felt for a long time he struggled with, like, the idea of, like, the kicks have to be set up with something or they have to set something else up, which that's not always the case. You can literally just blast a kick. You can blast a kick to the body. It's not the end of the world. I mean, do you remember the first Dillashaw Garbrandt fight? And do you remember Dwayne Ludwig's advice to Dillashaw, which is like, you don't have to set the kicks up all the time. You can just blast them. You can blast one at him. Okay, you don't have to make him think that that's where the kicks are only coming. And it took Song a while to realise that. And I just felt like he's never progressed on with those kicking game from there. And because, as you say, the reach, the Paulo Costa arms, everything has to be in hook range, which then draws him into a potential problem against someone like Ricky Simón, which is takedowns, Tom.
Yeah, quite. So that brings us on to Ricky Simón's evolution. Now, he's had some hiccups along the way, of course.
Most notably, yes.
Yeah, quite relevant for this fight. Uriah Faber, the old man, getting it done in 2019. He came back for that one fight. Suddenly thought he still got it with the first round knockout of Simón. Just caught him, Joe.
Yeah.
Just one of those. Just caught him.
It was a big overhand right. Behind the ear, down he goes, ground and pound. Yeah, it was one of those. It was.
Now, Faber, bless him, took it as a message that he still belongs. Petr Yan, I'm ready for you, son.
Yeah, the oldest swinger in town, you know.
And boy, I bet he regrets that because he took a whooping in that fight and built Jan's legacy a little bit. But Simón's really kicked on since then. Of course, he did succumb to another loss in his next fight against Rob Font. A man that we see kind of in the in-between zone between the top tier, you know, the pole position on the grid, and then the outside the top 10 guys not getting points for finishing. He's definitely treading that gap, and Simón wasn't able to bridge it himself, losing to Rob Font. Do you remember that fight?
Yeah, I remember it mostly of Simón going for takedowns, getting caught up against the fence, Font getting in the underhooks, knees pummeling outside, breaking jab, go from there. Like, that was Simón's offense wasn't really that great, and big looping strikes that were just, well, Faber caught me with this, so I'll just copy that. Like he's Mega Man and he's taken his ability and just copied Uriah Faber's. It doesn't quite work like that, as we all know. So yeah, there was a bit of a frustration there. But since then, he's gone on a good run, beating Ray Borg, who naturally a flyweight. Well, naturally, I don't know what weight he is. Gaetano Pirello, and then Brian Kelleher, Rafael Assunção, and then Jack Shaw. The Jack Shaw one is the most impressive one out of that, I would say. You know.
Well, certainly given the kind of energy that was behind Shaw going into that fight, talking about him undefeated at the time, and people were talking about him reaching the big time. I actually hadn't seen Shaw fight before then, so I was expecting big things. But for me, Simón just shut him down. We were talking about this fight a little bit before the pod. We seem to have slightly different recollections. For me, Simón walked him down. Yeah, walked him down and manhandled him a little bit, Joe.
In the finish for sure. I thought it was pretty even. Again, as I said to you before, though, it was Shaw trying to do nice, neat footwork, jabbing, 1-2, angling off from there. And Simón just wasn't respecting it and just bum rushing forward.
The distance. Yeah, blocking out the sun with that giant back, Joe, smothering him, knocking him down, and then choking him out with an arm triangle.
Is it a lunar eclipse or is it just Ricky Simón? Like that's what we have to question here.
So you asked what the evolution in Simón has been. He now has a mullet and his back is even bigger, Joe, and that to me is all I need.
Can I also give you the fight that I think is really quite important with this? Ricky Simón's debut in the UFC was against Merab. It went all 3 rounds, but he won by technical guillotine choke at the end of the 3rd round, where he choked Merab out. Oh, what lovely times for Tom.
I mean, you're saying words that make my heart sing, Joe. Yeah. We have to point out, though, that it was controversial.
Yes.
With the stoppage coming after the end of the fight.
Yes.
So they were all ready to announce Dvalishvili as the winner on points with the judges. Dvalishvili's up against, sitting on the cage, cheering. He's got the Georgia flag out, and then they had to pull him down. But actually, no, you lost.
Yes.
The fight was called He Choked You Unconscious after. Worth rewatching, because obviously Merab has gone on to be the main man now at bantamweight. But we'll get more onto that subject later on.
Let's also just go with that, though, that was a very scrambly fight where Simón kept up with Merab in the wrestling exchanges. He has clearly got really quite good cardio, and this going from a 3-round fight to a 5-round fight really favours him. Like, it really does favour him. And what also might favour him is the success Corey Sandhagen had with takedowns. We're talking about Corey Sandhagen, who's a striker. Now, admittedly, he's a rangy striker, whereas Simone is a more squat individual, shorter, power in the legs sort of thing. Takedowns from there. So maybe the takedown would be more obvious coming from Simone with how he fights, and also history and whatnot. But also, what that might then lead to is knees up the middle from Song, I'm guessing, if he is going to develop something like that there. And then uppercuts, because again, Song he's just such a strong, powerful hitter that he can get Simone out of there. And we have seen Simone gotten out of there by Uriah Faber. Like, you don't think Song Yadong can do that? Like, he can quite clearly do that against Ricky Simone.
Yeah, I do think he can do that, and I think the fact that Simone's approach will lead him into that kind of range consistently could favour Song. Song really, once he gets some momentum behind him, once he's marching forward himself, throwing combos and shots, he's been tremendously dangerous. He has significantly higher knockdown average than Ricky Simone, and he carries genuine power. So I think it could be quite an explosive matchup for in a phone box, Joe.
Yeah, for sure. The problem is that Song's cardio is not great. Like, even in 3-round fights, it falls off. In that fight against Sandhagen, that 4th round, it was all Sandhagen, and he was saved by the doctor, rightfully so, in between rounds there. And Simone does have very good cardio. So I think Simone will do the smart thing of trying to weaponize that. Will Simone, though, do the smart thing of elbows? That was something that Sandhagen did really well, which was the elbows off the clinch breaks, clinch exchange, as Song was coming in, past punching range, into elbow range. Will Simone be able to do that, do you think?
Well, I will say, it does favour Sandhagen, the height differential between him and Song. He was able to come over the top with those elbows, especially breaking from clinches. Whereas there's not such an option for Simone. It sounds like what you're saying, Joe, is that over time, Simone's going to start to run him over a little bit, and that will culminate later in the fight with a tired Song, getting ground out.
I think that's a likely outcome. I just can't look past Song knocking him out, though. Like, it's hard for me to do that. Because, again, all right, he knocked out Marlon Moraes. That was a diminished Marlon Moraes. But everyone else he's fought, if he puts hands on them, sometimes they get stung, man. Their feet go a bit wobbly. And that goes Sandhagen, who's a tremendous striker, who recovered really well from that, knew how to get away from that. Will Ricky Simone have that striking ability if he gets hit? I don't think so, and no offense to him. Like, I think Ricky Simone's a really good fighter, but I don't know. I can see that happening. However, Tom, if you do want my prediction, Ricky Simone by late finish. I'm going to go with a late finish. Just works Song, finishes him late in the fight, sub or TKO, 4th or 5th round. Just the cardio, just weaponizes that. Calls out Merab. You're taking everything I worked for, motherfucker. And we get the rematch that really none of us expected in Ricky Simone versus Merab Dvalishvili.
Yeah, now I've taken a new approach to my bantamweight predictions, and what I look at is I think which one of these can finally put an end to Merab Dvalishvili. And whichever one has slightly higher hopes, I invest all my faith in them.
Yes.
So Ricky Simone, please, son, please get it done, because I just don't see Song having anything for Merab.
Right.
Perhaps Simone can offer up a challenge. Although I have to say, to me, I lean towards that as being a bit of a freak finish. The one he got over Merab, I wouldn't favour him either. But still, his chance is greater, and therefore I have to favour him. But I really agree with you, Joe. I think this could be an unforeseen bump in the road for Ricky Simone.
For sure.
Hopefully, he's taken something away from that Faber loss, which obviously did set him back.
What do you see? Like, their trajectories now, like they're both at the fork in the road, and for me, I think Song's already down one road. What road do you think you see Simone going on down in the next couple of years?
Well, I'm excited about having that as an open question.
Yeah,
I'll say that to you, Joe. I agree completely. We know where Song is.
Yeah, that's
and it's just very hard to see what could change to push him up into that real elite level.
Yes, Song is at the stage where it's like fight night, pay-per-view main card banger. You know what I mean? Where I'm just like, if you want to let's get the crowd hyped. You know, it's not the co-main; it's the fight between, just before the co-main. Get Song Yadong in there against Adrian Yanez. Oh, you're gonna get some mitts flying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Him versus Rob Font. That's sort of like, yes, let's get some leather flying. Like that will be what you want Song Yadong for. Are we just gonna try and can we see Simone go to that level of the upper limits of this division, of a Petr Yan, of Corey Sandhagen?
I mean, it's hard to say. I've been pretty hot on Simone recently, but really looking at this fight, it has given me pause for thought in recognizing, okay, his wins are against Ray Borg, Brian Kelleher, 40-year-old Rafael Assunção.
But you need to get through those fights to get to the ones that give you the credibility. Do you know what I mean? Like the Shaw win is definitely credible. A Assunção maybe a little bit.
It's certainly credible, Joe. But all I'm saying is I've had to check my expectations a little bit before the pod. I've got to be honest with you. Coming in, I'm red hot for Ricky Simone, and I think he's going to freight train Song Yadong because they've got different ceilings.
Yeah, of course.
But you've given me pause for thought, and I think on this occasion, it's Blue Moon. Ooh. You are right. There is merit in what you're saying, and I'm a bit worried for Ricky now. I hope he can get through this because I'm excited for what he might do in this division.
Fair enough. Now, Tom, let's kind of talk through the rest of this. I mean, I'm going to say it right now. This card is shit. Like, this is shit. Let's talk about the co-main. Caio Borralho. We kind of like Caio Borralho. He's got a good run in the UFC so far. 3 wins. Problem is that he's just lent into the wrestling a bit too much recently. And this is a guy who likes to say that, he practices and is good in all elements of the game. It's just like we haven't really seen that. And he's kind of just been happy to use wrestling to hold people in positions, not go for submission attacks.
Let me give you a statistic on that, Joe. So significant strikes landed. What do you expect from an exciting fighter? What kind of figure would you be sitting on?
I would like 4. 3.5 to 4 in that range, minimum.
Yeah. Song Yadong, Joe, he's a 4. All right.
Yeah.
He's a high 4, and that's fun. Caio Borralho, significant strikes landed per minute, 2.3.
Oof.
Coming back at him, just 1.6 strikes absorbed. That speaks to a man who's been engaged on the mat. So, yes, I think you're right. He's not really lit the touch paper, but he has been an interesting personality. He's a proud geek.
Yes. Let's also then match that to Mikhail Olegchaychuk, whose significant strikes is near enough 5, isn't it? Like, landed per minute. It's around about 5.
It is.
And he's pretty much as close as you can get to kill or be killed. Only 2 fights of his have gone to a decision in the UFC. The rest, 7 finishes, including him being finished a couple times by submission by Jimmy Crute and Ovin St. Preux up at light heavyweight. So maybe he's actually come down and found his right division here. Can he keep Borralho off him on the mat? Like, can he keep it standing, Tom? Because if he can keep it standing, I'd like to see Borralho tested here. We're looking at also 2 southpaws, so they're going to be close to each other as well, which then does allow Borralho for that single leg. That leg right there in front of him. Could be a bit of an awkward one.
I think you might have called the story of this fight, Joe.
Oh, God. Anything else on this card, Tom? Please.
I think out of respect, we have to give a quick shout out to Charles Johnson.
Yes.
Now, what I'm seeing here, Joe, the poor man can't even get on the main card in the Apex. Don't know what's up with that because he has been all action. Yeah, he's on the prelims here. Fighting Cody Durden. Goes in slight favourite in this matchup. But why I want to shout him out, Joe, came to our attention first taking her horrendous matchup against Makayev. Did a great job. Makayev really brought down to earth in that fight, not able to advance the position, able to control the fight largely, but not really get anything off. Definitely cooled the waters on him for a minute there.
It was a really good test for Makayev that he passed, but it wasn't the fireworks we were hoping for.
Well, Joe, do you remember the date of that fight?
Was it July last year?
It was July 23rd, absolutely. Now, this is Johnson's 5th fight in the UFC. Made his debut July last year. So, huge shout out for him. Coming off a close decision loss to Ode Osborne, which a bit of a bump, bit of a shame for him because he had picked up 2 wins, regulation wins against Flick and Zumagulov before that.
That Zumagulov one was an interesting one because he lost the first round and then he came charging back from there to win rounds 2 and 3, showing that he can overcome that adversity. But again, that was only a split decision win. Can obviously slip the other way. But he's at a 2-2 record right now. You want to stay in the positive differential if you're someone like Charles Johnson. This is a man that could be quite easily left down and away from the rankings at flyweight. So,
I've been a bit frustrated with him. I think he is very, very, very able, but doesn't always put the maximum effort when it's required. Doesn't make the smartest decisions. I think he's got the tools there. So hope he gets it together against Cody Durden. Joe, outside of that, there's nothing grabbing me here. I think I'm ready to move on.
Well, let's move on then, Tom, to last week's card. Now, listeners, I apologise. I was going to do a preview episode and a review episode, but then I actually looked at the card and I briefly went blind from how bad it is, so didn't bother with that for your ears' sake as well. But that main event, Tom, we saw a clear and decisive number 1 contender for the heavyweight title, and it's Sergei Pavlovich, and he's not going to fight for a title this year.
Well, I think it does require a little bit of setting up because Blaydes has been sat astride that top 5 position for a very long time. The best wrestler in the division,
who doesn't wrestle now.
We'll unfortunately get to the fight, but we've long agreed that Blaydes is one of the best heavyweights out there. Pavlovich doesn't need much of an introduction. He's been soaring, blitzing through people on his way to this point. It was rank 3 versus rank 4. Now, previously, Joe, I've always lent towards Blaydes. I think you match him up against anyone. Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou, Dorcas, Cain Velasquez. I'm saying the guy's a dominant wrestler. Dominant wrestler. And, he's just had a couple of issues running into uppercuts when he's trying to shoot. Now, unfortunately, what he's done with that information is transform himself into a boxer against a man who has had the most devastating hands in the heavyweight division for the last 2 years.
Yeah. All first-round knockouts. All first-round knockouts from Sergei Pavlovich. Now, I will defend Curtis Blaydes here. He was landing that right hand pretty much whenever he wanted. The only issue was that Pavlovich was like, yeah, all right, and then just kept going as if it was nothing. He just kept moving forward. Yeah, all right, I'll eat that right hand because my huge winging shots will land and wobble you terribly. And it was just, I was actually kind of angry watching this fight because Pavlovich, he's very entertaining, don't get me wrong, very entertaining, but he's quite bad at the striking. You know what I mean? Like, he's quite bad at the actual
Joe
physics.
Your man's out there, hands down by his hips like a gunslinger, wading in. Right hand is literally cocked at his hip. He's eating shots from Blaydes.
Yeah.
Head is jutted up, facing the ceiling as he comes in throwing. But those shots are getting through. They're finding a home. And your man just keeps going forwards.
Yeah.
And you see the result. It was another first round stoppage. He was stumbling Blaydes when Blaydes was blocking the shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Blaydes was in guard, doing everything right, fighting out of, solid fundamentals, doing everything he had to do, if he is to be a boxer now. It wasn't enough, Joe.
No.
Pavlovich ended up just blowing him away.
I'm so annoyed with Blaydes. He should have just blasted, Raul Rosas Jr. should have ran across that cage and blasted a takedown straight away. Because the annoying thing is that Blaydes is actually interesting when he's a wrestler. You know what I mean? It's just
nasty ground and pound. Nasty.
Over him. The elbows on over him, where he got the takedown and then he's throwing these elbows and he's just like, I'll throw 5 more, and Overeem's head explodes. It was brutal. It was so brutal that Overeem was like, I'm going to train with that man. And he literally trained with him. And his next fight was Sergei Pavlovich, who he beat very comprehensively.
So it all adds up for Blaydes to do what he needs to do and cement his place as the next matchup for the winner of Jones versus Miocic. He's really done the work, Joe. He's been there.
Yeah.
He's been there. And he's absolutely fumbled the bag here. He's got to be devastated. How many times has he run into this same type of loss? Being blasted by a power puncher, what I'm saying.
I'm actually honestly expecting more of them now. And now that you mention it, I'm like, if he had this game plan against Tom Aspinall, if Aspinall's knee wasn't completely shot, Aspinall would have beaten him, right? Is there any doubt in your mind that Aspinall would have just completely dominated Blaydes on the feet?
I don't know. Tremendously frustrating. I mean, the only time he threw the shot was out of desperation when he was hurt.
Yeah.
And, Pavlovich saw it coming a mile away, easily kind of shucked him off. I don't know. Why change? You're the best wrestler in the division. You look great when you wrestle. You neutralize everybody.
Yeah.
Why are you playing that, son?
I think what happened was that he felt like he had to improve his striking after the Derek Lewis one, where it's like, you didn't. You were beating Derek Lewis on the feet until you went for the takedown. Now he's really hesitant to do it. But then I think, was that a Volkov? It was
the Dorcas win, Joe. Oh, Joe, it was the Dorcas win.
Or what about the Volkov one, where he wrestled Volkov to death and then gassed terribly, and Volkov took him down in the end? Is it that one, or is it the Dorcas win?
I think it's the Dorcas win where he's like, look at my hands. I knocked out somebody who's supposed to have the fastest hands at heavyweight, shut that height train down, and here I am. Look at me now.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
Very frustrating. Very frustrating.
All right, let me ask you.
Still only 32 at heavyweight. He'll be around.
Yeah, in Bellator. Right, let's. That's not a disparaging comment, by the way, Bellator, if you're listening. Let me ask you this quickly. Does Pavlovich beat Gane?
Surely not.
No. Does he beat Aspinall?
Surely not.
No.
Surely not, Joe. But with the record he's amassing here, this was the least spectacular of his run.
Because it was more than a minute.
Yeah, because Blaydes was blocking some shots.
Yeah.
And wasn't trying to trade with him. But surely, Joe, surely not. I mean, you can't fight like that against Cyril Gane. Surely not. That would be an absolute indictment of heavyweight if this same fight played out. Gane was dancing around the cage. Pavlovich just comes wading in with the windmill, and that's just surely not.
He's not fighting Jones or Miocic either, is he?
It's hard to see it.
No.
All of a sudden, Joe, heavyweight is just dead.
yeah, it really has died off, hasn't it? Who could Jones face next? No, it's all done.
Joe, Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, that's who should face.
Dodgy knee. Overcome Cyril Gane. What a storyline. What a moment. And look where we are.
What's the other things you want to talk about this card? Should we talk about Bobby Green, Jared Gordon? Like that was what's there to say? Like it was
the right decision.
Right decision, yeah. I could see what he was going for with the step in elbow. You could see it. Woefully mistimed and misplaced. Like he was nowhere near. Like he just full on headbutted him and then hit the ground and pound. He's like, well, Jared was trying to throw up a triangle, and it's like, yeah, he was trying to throw up a triangle because you headbutted him to the ground. Like, that's not on, bro. Like, that's not on. Like, if that was caught in real time, the ref would have stopped it, Gordon would have been checked, and maybe he could have continued. Probably not. Probably not. Like, it was, and he then basically got flatlined by Green. It's nonsense, though. The money, like the fact that Green isn't going to get the money that he deserves. Like, they've basically taken their full money and split it in half. Like, the show and win thing, it's not even show and win. It's show money and then bonus money if you win. It's like, that's just ridiculous. I just hate it. I hate it. And they think like, oh, maybe guys won't fight for the finish then if they don't get that win bonus thing. It's just like, it's not a finish bonus. Because if you want that, give them a finish bonus. And like, oh, maybe they'll earn more money and that means they won't want to fight as much. No, they'll want to fight more because they're earning more money. This is stupid. It's stupid, but whatever. Anyway.
But the right decision anyway, and no contest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get Bobby Green's complaints when it comes to that.
No, I think part of it must be the frustration. Like, it's part of his persona. He expected to just kind of put a bit of a whooping on Jared, dance around a bit, bob and weave.
He looked good leading up to it, though. I mean, whenever I watch him fight, I'm like, man, I love watching this guy. Like, I love watching the hands low. I love what
Gordon was landing, though.
Yeah, sure, but that's what makes Bobby Green exciting, because he gives people a clear option. Like, my hands are at my waist, mate, go for it. Like, that's what leads to the excitement. I still really want to see Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett. Like, that would be the fight I would like to make, although apparently Pimblett's out for the year, so probably not going to see that anytime soon. Bruno Silva brutally finishes Brad Tavares. Tavares complained about the finish, saying it was early. No, mate, you got saved there. Silva with a lovely knee, knocked him down. Bit of G&P. Only one punch actually was landed, wasn't it? And then ref stepped in to save him. Good finish from Bruno Silva, who has that performance against Alex Pereira as well, where like maybe this guy has got something to offer at middleweight. I mean, middleweight is such a wasteland of shit that we could do with someone who's got something about them. So yeah. Well, anything that you want to add to this?
Well, I know we were going to talk about Semmelsberger's back and forth fight with Trevin Giles.
Jeremiah Wells.
But clearly I don't want to talk about that, Joe, because you mentioned middleweight and there's been a big fight made.
Yes, there has been a big fight made. Well, I guess we'll just get on to the news. Robert Whittaker is back. Maybe Tom's favourite fighter. I'm not too sure. Sometimes I really think he is. He is facing Dricus du Plessis in what Dana White calls a number one contenders fight. The winner will face Adesanya later in the year in Sydney. Now, Tom, why are they doing this to Dricus? Like, this is a big leap, isn't it? Like, this is... I mean, I know what you're picking already for that fight. Like, I don't even have to do the podcast with you. I know what you're picking. You're going to pick Robert Whittaker to win that fight, like any sensible human being would. Like, this is... And it feels like they're burning off a contender for the sake of Robert Whittaker. Like, it's just weird to me.
I agree. It caught us off guard. People were already actually talking about du Plessis. They were searching in that barren wasteland that you just referred to, and that is middleweight, for someone to fight Israel Adesanya. And people were starting to mention Dricus du Plessis. The man is on a streak. He does have some fun fights, if not all that technical wins under his belt. And so the echoes go round. Who is the true African champion? Is it du Plessis or is it Adesanya? And then we get this one. So I don't know. I mean, who do you match Whittaker up with? What do you do with this division, Joe? What do you do? I guess I kind of like the fight. It's fun.
Well, this one?
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be a fun fight. I just... My problem is that it's Robert Whittaker. Like, it's Robert Whittaker. Like, he's not going to beat Robert Whittaker.
Well, he's not going to beat Israel Adesanya, Joe. So.
Yeah, but it's still...
But Whittaker might.
It's still a title. Yeah, he might now. He might, for sure.
In Sydney?
Yeah, that was the thing that gave it away, where I'm like, oh, they think Whittaker's going to win this fight as well. Like, I do find it weird they're not going to New Zealand, though. Why aren't they doing a card there? Adesanya in New Zealand? Surely that'd be the thing to do.
Whittaker winning the final fight of the trilogy in front of a home crowd. That sounds pretty delicious, Joe. I mean, yeah, it's a strange fight, but it's a strange division. And actually, what I wanted to discuss with you is a comment we had back on a previous pod from a listener, Jesus Christ. Thank you for this one.
We are blessed with this comment.
We are truly blessed, and he had just got off watching Max Blessed Holloway put the work on Arnold Allen and confirm that he is the number 2 guy. A man, unfortunately, who cannot be matched up with the champion in his division ever again, Alexander Volkanovski. And Jesus Christ, he feels like Max will always be the gatekeeper in that division unless Volk was to depart the division. And he holds him in the same breath as Usman to Leon at welterweight,
right?
Rob to Izzy at middleweight, and then Charles to Islam at lightweight.
Oh,
yeah, yes. One of those is not like the other.
Yeah, just the amount of fights against the champ that they've had. The others were Usman, Whittaker, and Holloway. That was it, right?
Yeah.
Would you classify Figueiredo to Moreno as well in that class, in that cards?
I mean, I guess you have to. I don't feel like it's close still for me, Figueiredo Moreno.
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe. But then Holloway Volkanovski 3 wasn't close. So maybe you could put it in that same category.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also like, is Rob and Izzy, has it found its conclusion? There is still intrigue there, isn't there?
I don't think so. I don't think so for the most part. I think you mean, maybe from a hardcore perspective, yeah, there could be. It could be the fact that I actually do think Robert Whittaker can beat Israel Adesanya.
Yeah.
I do think he has the ability and the skill and the game planning to beat Adesanya. Maybe from a casual perspective, it's not there as much, but then that's a casual fan, so what do we expect?
Well, I feel like here with this fight, the thing that's a bit of a shame is that we're going to Izzy versus Whittaker, potentially, assuming he gets the Duplessis, by default. Because of the absence, the absolute dearth of talent at middleweight. Now, Whittaker, coming off a run, with Adesanya there in the background, the eventual culmination of Whittaker's career, that would be a great, great fight to make. I think we're a little bit underwhelmed by it because it's quite proximate still to their last fight, and Whittaker, he's been doing what he needs to do in the division. He's been comfortable in holding his position.
If they fought later this year, Whittaker and Adesanya, that's less than 2 years after their last fight, in which, to me, Adesanya won quite a comfortable decision. And the rounds that Whittaker won, it was done in rather unimpressive circumstances, but he still won them regardless.
48.
Having
47.
said that, yes, some people had Whittaker winning the fight, by the way, which I'm sorry, I just don't see at all for that fight. Like, I just don't see a way that he did do that. It's, for me, that's just where the handbrake's been pulled, is that I've seen this fight twice. He got brutally finished the first time, and the second time he lost quite a clear decision, which, yeah, obviously is an improvement of such, but it's not like I've seen something in that fight that makes me think I definitely need to see that again as soon as possible. The issue is, though, is the matchmaking at middleweight has been quite bad, to be honest. I think there was a fight that could have been easily set up for Adesanya at middleweight, which is Du Plessis. They have been going back and forth, and Adesanya even made a comment today about it. Can I give you the quotes?
Please.
Hold on, let me get this right here. Okay. I know who I see, and I already talked to Dana, try to set up some things. I'm going to fucking take him to school, in the octagon and on history. What he's doing is creating divide. You can't know your history. I've never questioned him as an African because, yeah, you were born in Africa. South Africa. Of course you're an African. I've never questioned that. But who the fuck is this cracker to tell me who the fuck I am? Who the fuck Kamaru Usman is? Who the fuck Francis Ngannou is? I'm like, are you dumb? As a product of colonization, you're trying to tell me who the fuck I am. You can take the boy out of Africa, but you can never take the Africa out of the boy. I never ever did that to him. I never discredited him as an African. Okay, there you are. Cool. You want to make a fight? Cool. But the fact as a fucking cracker to tell me who the fuck I am, that pissed me off. And that's why he's my next fight. I don't want to fight anyone else. This one pisses me off. Make the fight!
Yeah, there's some heat on that.
There is. Sure. Oh my god, is there heat on that? Like, that's the promo.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing is though, like, I don't want there to be. I just don't want
racial overtones.
I don't want a race element. People go like, "Oh, that'd be amazing in terms of." No, I don't want that because we see the dregs of society in MMA comments as is. You know, it's as we've said before, probably the most right wing sport.
Jesus Christ, not included.
Jesus, mate. You know, you're a good man. You've given us a great comment that has taken us down a road that we weren't really expecting. Is there anything else on that comment you wanted to pick up on? Is there something about the frequency of the fights, perhaps, that maybe needs to be debated?
Well, I just wondered if it was accurate. You know, are they in the same position, these divisions? I feel like Rob and Izzy, and then Vulcan and Holloway, they're similar pitch. Other than that, featherweight, it does have some potential up and comers that might disrupt that kind of 1-2 status.
Yeah, you've got Yair.
No.
Arnold, Ilya.
No.
Oh.
No, okay, sorry.
Movsar. Like, those are the four that I'm like...
Well, Arnold's been sent way back, Joe. He hasn't. He's been shown.
We discussed this. Hold on. We discussed this on the last pod. I think losing to Whittaker and losing to Holloway, that does the same thing to you, which is you're still a fight away. You're a fight away.
Joe, do you think Jared Cannonier should fight Adesanya again?
God, no.
Should he fight Whittaker again?
No, God, no.
So the divisions are not in the same place, is what I'm saying. At featherweight, You've got Evloev, you've got Ilia Topuria, you've got men who.
So what? They just avoid that path.
Max Holloway.
Yeah.
No, because I think they could potentially upset Holloway. This is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, but why risk it though?
I'm not seeing anybody at middleweight who upsets Whittaker. So I feel like Whittaker's almost even more cemented in that.
Wait, you think Topuria can beat Holloway?
I think there's more of an open question than whether Du Plessis can beat Whittaker, is what I'm saying. I think you'll grant that.
That's fair. I'll grant you that for sure. I'll grant you that. Yeah, I don't know. It's... Okay, but out of those... out of Whittaker, Usman, Holloway, Oliveira, who do you think's the most beatable then?
Oliveira.
Just because he just wades in and just... He gets knocked down every fight, pretty much.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast this sport can turn. It's amazing. I do not feel like he's cemented as the number 2 at lightweight. You made an audible gasp when I put him in the same bracket.
No, he's not. I mean, we know the number 2 at the division is Dariush, and he's getting screwed out of a title fight. He even said as much in quotes the other day where, you know, he had his fight pushed back against Oliveira, and he said the UFC told him that Dustin's the next one for the title.
But he since says he's been in touch with the UFC, and he says now that he's been promised the title fight, even if the Oliveira fight doesn't happen. He's been back on the mic saying that, so he obviously ruffled some feathers. Now, look, Joe, if the Oliveira fight does happen, don't give the game away. Just say one name, Oliveira or Dariush. I don't want to hear.
Now?
I don't want to hear anymore. Just where are you leaning right now? Dariush, and me too. So I think we can put that to one side. That is not in the same kind of category.
No. Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
As
yeah, because if I said to you Bilal Muhammad versus Kamaru Usman, who are you picking?
I think I'm picking Kamaru. I mean, yeah. I think, but yeah, Usman, he's also not in that same position as the solid number 2 who can never beat Leon, or who will necessarily get to fight Leon again because he dusts off everyone else. We're not so sure anymore.
I think age is an interesting one with these guys, isn't it? Because, Whittaker and Holloway are really at their peaks. Like, if you just look at age-wise, they should be at their peaks. I mean, numbers-wise, Max should be at the end of his career, but he's not. Even though, there is an argument to be made that he's maybe shown signs of slowing down in that Arnold fight, perhaps. I heard a really good argument for it. I will shout them out on the Heavy Hands podcast. They did make a good point about that. I think there is something to be said there.
Joe, you're provoking me. You were right at the end of the pod and you're poking at me. Holloway comprehensively beat Arnold Allen. Accept it. Embrace it.
No. He beat Arnold Allen.
He's much better than Arnold Allen.
He beat Arnold Allen.
He's much better than Arnold Allen. He's one of the greatest featherweights of all time. Arnold Allen is not. And and probably won't ever enter that conversation.
Right now, they're not that far apart.
Wow.
They're not that far apart.
You blow him up. It was so comfortable. Holloway had extra gears to go to.
It was one round difference. It was a 1 round difference.
Joe.
It's true, though.
Please, Joe.
It's 1 round difference. It was a 1 round difference. That's all it was between those two. Listen, man, you got to give... You've just said, by the way, he's one of the greatest featherweights of all time. I might pick Ilia Topuria to beat him, and that's a direct quote from you, right?
I'm saying, because I don't know how good Topuria is yet. I know how good Allen is right now, and he's well, not much worse, but he's certainly worse than Max, and Max showed that.
Interesting.
I feel like this is a discussion we'll return to at a later date.
It will always evolve and change. Like, these guys are always going to be there. Now, the question is, what does Adesanya do, Tom? And it's the light heavyweight title, right? That's what he's going to go for. No, it must be, no? Because they're not going to do Pereira again.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to have something in mind for him, having scooped away the only possible matchup you can give him. I mean, is there? Is there someone at middleweight? I can't think of who it could be. I mean, Joe, no, there isn't. There really isn't. There is not a fight you can make in the entire rankings. In the entire rankings. But Hamzat, yes.
What about this? What about Leon?
Leon going up to middleweight to fight him.
Yeah,
presumably. I don't think Adesanya's getting down to welterweight.
No, he'll have to kill himself to get to welterweight. No, yeah, Leon moving up to middleweight.
It would be a big surprise. It would be a big surprise. I would prefer for Leon to stay and just get his name in the history books down there at welterweight. Take the chalice and run with it, my boy.
Now, let's...
Yeah. Adesanya at light heavyweight, all right. Just get one fight in there if it's not for the belt. Although Jamahal Hill is a pretty nice one for him to step into.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if he wants to get that title, that's the best time to do it because... Prohashka's going to be taking that back later this year, if not him. And would you favour Izzy over Prohashka?
I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm all about this show. Adesanya, you basically cleared out the middleweight division. Whittaker...
What do you mean? But he has.
Yeah. I mean, we can't find a matchup in the top 15.
All right, let me ask you this. Marvin Vettori, let's say he faces Jared Cannonier. We're doing Vettori Adesanya 3?
Don't shoot me now. No, give Whittaker the belt back. Adesanya goes up, makes light heavyweight great, and it already is in relative terms. Gives middleweight a bit of chance for growth. You know, like when you cut down the big tree in the forest and it lets the little saplings get some sun.
No.
Let's do that at middleweight. Let's send Adesanya up to light heavyweight. He can fight Pereira again.
So what about this? Adesanya wins the title at light heavy. He defends the middleweight title once more against Hamzat Chimaev. Yeah. after he beats Paulo Costa.
But wait, Whittaker at this point, he's beaten. He's got to fight, hasn't he? Got to fight for the belt if he beats Duplessis.
Nah, fuck him off. And then once
sacrilege.
Unless, what about this? Adesanya moves up, vacates the title. Whittaker versus Hamza in Sydney for the middleweight title. Oh yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, that's the one right there. We nailed it. Right, last but not least, a nice welterweight matchup I'm going to throw at you that's been announced. Jack Della Maddalena is back and he's facing Sean Brady.
Wow.
Where are you leaning on that one there, Tom? Because let me just remind you, Sean Brady was flummoxed by Bilal Muhammad's 1-2. So we're going to see if Jack Della Maddalena has wrestling tape.
Train wrestling, son. Train it, please.
And if he has that, I think Brady's in trouble.
And you've got to imagine that everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. So I hope that he's practicing his sprawl in the gym and getting away from the edge of the octagon. What do I think of that matchup? I think that's strange matchmaking. Honestly, I would think Maddalena would be sidestepping it. I mean, you got to go through the wrestler's gauntlet anyway at welterweight. But
this is the one wrestler he'll face.
I mean, obviously, if he's able to neutralize Brady, then who else does he need to face? Just get him up there, get him in the action.
Yeah, but why not get him into some interesting matchups?
Still like Joe. Wouldn't it be more fun for him to fight Jeff Neal or Vicente Luque?
Sure.
The loser of Bilal and Burns.
I feel like though, face Brady, defeat the one wrestler, then face Luque, and then title shot.
Joe, I'm just worried. What about if Brady just snuffs him out? What if Brady just lays and prays?
Brady's a dirty dog,
minutes.
man.
Yeah, he is. That man can wrestle and he can smother you. Absolutely.
He's great. I think he's really talented.
And that's my fear, is that Maddalena's so fun right now. If Brady just neutralizes him comfortably, just in the most boring fashion you can imagine.
Yeah.
Marab Davashvili style.
Oof, please don't. Right, listeners, we will be back next week to preview UFC 288. Is that it?
That is it, Joe.
By the way, have you noticed, when I announce this one, whenever I talk about it, I always say Cejudo first over Sterling. I feel like he is still just the bantamweight champ because Sterling's title reign has been... It's a joke. It's a joke title reign.
Checkered.
It is checkered. But we can get into that next week. We are going to go deep into that one, Tom. With the new co-main of 5 rounds of Gilbert Burns versus Bilal Muhammad. Awuga.
Heroes, the both of them.
Yeah, funny how that still wasn't declared as the number 1 contenders fight, Dana. Anyway, listeners, we'll be back to preview that. I will be back at least on Sunday to talk about this card here. And by this card, I mean Ricky Simon versus Song Yadong. Everything else can kick rocks. You can contact us at holdonbrother69@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, spread the word, have a good old time, and get involved in the comments. We'll get back to you, either in the comments or on this pod.
Yeah,
we'll go deep. We took that one comment. We took that one comment from your man Jesus, yeah, and we went hog wild on that.
Do you know,
slathering over that.
We take it in, we process it. It affects us. We think about it when we're sleeping. It infiltrates our thoughts. You're right here with us, guys. So keep it coming.
Yeah, we're like Dusty Rhodes right now. My hand is reaching out to touch your hand, listeners. Yeah, you could be.
Don't be
on
scared.
This podcast.
Don't be scared.
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry. I have got trousers on for the time being. Right. You could be on this podcast, not actually in person, but your comment could be discussed for 10 minutes. Think about that. Jesus did it. Anyway, listeners, we'll be back next week. See you later. Have a good weekend. Good night and goodbye.
Bye, everybody.